As we all know, the winter is already here. We may be ready for the Christmas, but what about our trees, our woody ornamentals in our yard? They are facing challenges in the winter. Good news is that we don't have snows and the weather will be warm, but the bad news is we are very dry. So the dry weather may be a potential factor that affecting the plant growth, even though the plants are mostly in the dormancy. So when we talk about winter, there are several factors in the winter that can cause stress. First, the extremely low temperature, and that can cause the soil to be frozen. And the other thing is what we have been seeing over the past 1 or 2 years is the temperature fluctuation has become very chaotic. So you will see lots of rapid temperature change. At the same time, the drying winds and the lack of a soil moisture, and that can all cause a stress for the tree. I would like to give you a quick review about the samples I received from the lab in 2023. As you know, every time the woody ornamental or the evergreen trees you are coping with the winter injury, the symptom may not show up until the early spring, even the late spring. So here I'm showing some old photos. The first one was from a magnolia tree showing the tape burning. And this is a very interesting photo showing the dead boxwood, but on the background, all the boxwood has the yellowing on the top. This is a very evident winter injury symptoms caused by the desiccation associated with the winter injury. Those are broadleaf evergreen plants. Regarding the needle leaf evergreen plants such as arborvitae, spruce tree, and white pine, they can also get winter injuries. You can tell from those two photos, they can cause the winter injury can cause plant growth decline and also sectional dieback showing here. And you can tell sometimes winter injury can cause big issue for the newly developed needles. What about the deciduous tree and the shrubs? One of very easy to identify a winter injury for deciduous tree is a bark splitting, which is shown here. This is resulted from the uneven exposure to the sunlight and also the shifting of the temperature causing the uneven growth, which will eventually lead to the bark splitting. And especially for some newly planted tree with thin bark, the bark splitting can cause a big issue, and some tree can die in the first year. And this is a very interesting photo, which is the forsythia plant. And as you can see, this tree supposed to bloom in the early spring. They are supposed to be the plant that bloomed first in the spring. But as you can see from the photo, all the flowers which were covered under the snow looks fine, but all the flower on the top of the snow, which were not covered by the snow, all shed. So this is another story, which is also resulted from cold injury, but this is from spring frost damage. And according to the mechanism of a cold injury and winter scotch, the strong wind can cause the leaf to lose water very quickly. And frozen water is also not good for the plant because it's disabled water uptake. At the same time, the drastic rising temperature and exposure to the direct intense sunlight can cause the leaf or the needle to become very desiccated. Entering spring, we have frost damage giving a big hit to the newly developed leaves. Fortunately, for the frost damage, it's most of the time they're just one-time injury, and as a newer growth progress, the old leaves will die and the plant will be recovered. However, the cold injury in the winter can cause kind of like a longer term damage. That's why we need the strategic plan in controlling or manage the tree, because sometimes the cold injury can cause wound or bark splitting to the plant, which can introduce some diseases in the next year. So to manage the cold injury or winter injury for newly planted tree, we need to select the hardy plants as well as native plants which is the top choice for planting trees in Missouri. And you can wrap the trunks of the young and thin bark tree with white guards or wrap. Please do not use black wrap because the black color wrap will absorb more energy, causing more growth of the plant. That will be very susceptible to the winter injury. For all trees, you need to consider whether you're going to prune or not prune because you will have to prune some dead tissues, but you don't want to incur any injuries, and you don't want to prune in the summer because that will trigger more growth that are very susceptible to the winter injury. Fertilization only in spring. Do not do that in summer and fall. This is related to a similar reason about pruning because as long as you have more growth, they're gonna face more challenges and causing more stress to the tree. You may need to consider the proper irrigation in the late fall or through the winter, as you heard from Zach that the weather is definitely not friendly in this winter. It's very dry, so consider keep on watering your tree. Do a good mulch because this will be very helpful for keeping the moisture level of your root and crown area of the tree. And that can also increase the airflow for a root area.